This is our continuing coverage of the US presidential election, and we have some huge breaking developments coming in right this minute. The Associated Press, in the latest coming in, has now called the election in favor of Joe Biden. The Associated Press has declared Joe Biden the winner, the 46th president of the United States, according to Associated Press. As per the numbers just coming in, we can tell you that the Associated Press has given 284 electoral college votes to Joe Biden as opposed to 214 for Donald Trump. Joe Biden sailing way beyond the magic figure of 270 electoral college votes. That map on your screen, the Associated Press has declared Joe Biden to be the 46th president of the United States of America. AP has declared Biden the winner in Pennsylvania. Remember, that was a crucial battleground state. 20 electoral votes in Pennsylvania going to Joe Biden, taking his total tally up to 284. Kamala Harris now will become the first Indian origin vice president of the United States. The Associated Press, in news just coming in, has now declared Joe Biden to be the next president of the United States of America. It's been a long wait, 4 days since Election Day, a closely watched contest, a tight race in a number of those battleground states. Remember, Georgia, Pennsylvania have been the two battleground states that we have been closely monitoring. As per the latest numbers, the Associated Press, after that close contest in Pennsylvania, has declared Pennsylvania has gone to Joe Biden, which means 20 electoral seats, electoral college votes going to Joe Biden. And that would take his overall tally to 284 electoral college votes. The Associated Press calling the election in favor of Joe Biden, declaring him to be the winner. If you're just joining us, this is the moment that the entire world has been waiting for. Anticipation has been running high for over 50 hours now, as with each passing hour, it looked like the contest was too close to call, with the battleground states declaring Joe Biden to be the winner. Pennsylvania being the latest one, where the Associated Press has now declared Joe Biden to be the winner. Pennsylvania has a huge chunk of 20 electoral college votes, which means that Joe Biden has been declared to be the next president of the United States, according to the Associated Press. He has been declared the winner in Pennsylvania. His victory came after more than 3 days of uncertainty. Election officials sorted through a surge of mail-in votes, which also led to this delay in processing of some ballots. As you've been also closely watching the reactions coming in from both the campaigns, Donald Trump has been wanting that the vote counting should stop. He's been taking to Twitter, making his statements, also addressing the nation, saying and alleging that there has been widespread voter fraud. Over the last few hours, we've seen statements coming in from the Trump campaign talking about the legal challenges, talking about how they will be challenging the vote count. In the latest that's coming in now, the Associated Press has declared Joe Biden to be the next president of the United States. The Associated Press has called Pennsylvania for Joe Biden, 20 electoral college votes. The map on your screen, if you're just joining us, 284 electoral college votes now going to Joe Biden. That takes him way beyond the magic number of 270, which is required to become the next president of the United States. While the Trump campaign has been talking about what they call widespread voter fraud, wanting that the vote counting should stop, the Joe Biden campaign has consistently maintained that every vote should be counted, that every ballot will be respected. Now, in Pennsylvania, where the contest has been so close to call over the last few hours.
He hasn't done it, he doesn't mean it. But there's a lot of Republicans that do mean it. So I'm confident we can get it done.
In the states of Georgia and Pennsylvania, the two battleground states, over the last few hours, we've been keeping you up to speed with the numbers. Remember, the election officials in Georgia had also earlier announced that there will be a recount. Joe Biden, in the latest statement that he had given out, once again addressing the Americans, stressing on how every vote will be counted, pledging that tensions are running high, but urging Americans to remain calm and patient and let the process work out. Well, the process at the moment has worked out in the favor of Joe Biden, who has been declared the winner by the Associated Press. Remember, traditionally, AP has been calling out the winner of the presidential battles. Anticipation that's been running high, and hours, days of counting, a lot of back and forth, allegations and counter allegations being traded by the two camps. It's been a polarized election campaign, but even the days leading up to this final result day, there have been ugly remarks and barbs that have been exchanged between the two campaigns. Overall, the voting process and the counting process has also come under the scanner as per the Trump campaign, which has alleged widespread, what they call widespread voter fraud. Senior journalist Ray Locker is now joining us live from Washington, D.C. for more on that. Ray, as per the latest coming in from the Associated Press, they have called the election in favor of Joe Biden. He is set to be the next president of the United States. Help us better understand what happens now with the recount that is to be held in Georgia and the legal challenges that the Trump team has already been preparing for.
Well, the legal challenges are really going to go nowhere. You need to have tangible evidence that there was fraud, and there has not been any tangible evidence. There have been allegations, just as President Trump made allegations 4 years ago when he lost a popular vote by 2.9 million voters. He claimed there was fraud. No one found any. So I don't worry about the legal challenges. The Georgia recount is going to happen because the margin between the two candidates was within a certain percentage. Georgia officials say that they don't think that a recount will change the outcome of the election in that state. So I think right now we're looking at Joe Biden as the president-elect of the United States. We go through the normal transition period. It doesn't really matter if President Trump concedes or not. That's a norm. It's not a constitutional requirement. And really, as long as every state certifies its election results on the given date in December, the exact date I don't really know right now, then everything goes according to plan. There has to be, demonstrated fraud for anything to change this, and so far there isn't any sign of that.
Right, but do we expect a normal, as you say, transition of power, a smooth handover of power from Donald Trump to Joe Biden? You're saying that that's the norm and that's the way things have to go, but it's safe to say that this has been anything but a smooth ride for America. And over the last few hours, we've seen an election process being doubted by the incumbent leader, who's also called for the counting process to stop. As per his last statement as well, the counting is something that he has constantly questioned. So do we expect some sort of chaos as far as transition of power is concerned? Can that even happen?
Obviously, there's going to be chaos. This is Donald Trump. It's how he does business. This is a president who's been documented as lying 22,000 times during the 4 years he's president. No one anticipates a smooth transition. As you remember, 4 years ago, President Obama had President Trump at the White House the day after the election to greet him and show him around. No one thinks that'll happen this time. Fortunately for Joe Biden, he knows what the White House looks like. He had an office in there for 8 years. So he and his team should be able to navigate things fairly quickly because they'll have the support of people inside many of these government agencies whose job it is to make sure the government runs, just as they did 4 years ago. So it's not going to be a normal process because Donald Trump has never been a normal president. But there are mechanisms that are in place and people who know how to make things work. So it'll happen. It just won't be very pretty, and people from the outside will watch it and go, "What's going on in the United States?"
Right, and with Joe Biden set to become the next president of the United States, we also see Kamala Harris becoming the first Indian origin vice president of America. I want to come to you for a quick reaction on that, Ray, but let's first listen into some reactions that are coming in from on ground.
And we believe in truth, and trust, and honesty. And integrity is really important, and that's what Biden and Harris has.
Right. Yes, we're so excited.
We're grateful.
Took the office. We
brought it home.
We brought it home. Yeah. No more, sir. Oh my God. First of all, we broke the record of people voting. People came out of the woodworks to get. We can't function a democracy like that. He's not a dictator. We're not tolerating it. So I'm so happy that we broke the voting records. And this is just the beginning. We took Georgia. Picture that. We took Arizona. Picture that.
And it's not that, we're all united. We're all U.S. citizens. But we have differences. And it's just that at this time, our differences prevail. So Biden will unite the U.S. We can't be red state or blue state. We have to be one state.
We all together. All together. And that's why New Jersey's a blue state, but we're still part of the United States. My family worked hard to be here. I worked hard to be here. So we're still working hard to be here.
Exactly. We have a
and we got it today.
Where are you from?
New Jersey.
What's your name?
My name is Clarice Miller.
Could you spell it for me?
Yes, C-L-A-R-I-C-E.
Okay,
Yes.
a double L in Miller, right?
Yes.
May I ask how old you are?
I'm 55, my birthday.
All right, that's a sense of the mood on the ground just moments after the Associated Press has declared Joe Biden to be the winner of this U.S. presidential battle. If you're just joining us, the Associated Press has handed Pennsylvania to Joe Biden, taking his overall tally to 284 electoral college votes and declaring the election to be in favor of Joe Biden. Joe Biden now set to become the 46th president of the United States as per the latest numbers coming in. Pennsylvania pushing Joe Biden way beyond that magic figure of 270, garnering 20 electoral college votes through Pennsylvania, taking his overall tally to 284. Ray Locker, senior journalist, has been with us, getting his perspectives on the very latest coming in. Ray, I want to first come to you to that point that one of the reactions put forth. The sense that we have is there is widespread hope in the air with Joe Biden set to become the next leader. The divisions that the United States of America has witnessed over the last 4 years, more so over the last 1 year, to what extent do we see Joe Biden being able to tackle those challenges?
Well, I know that he's going to try. I think it'll be a struggle in a lot of cases. I mean, there's a lot of fear among certain voting blocs. The United States is changing. This was clearly a white-dominated society for centuries. Now that is changing. We have greater ethnic diversity than ever before, and that's only going to continue. And I think that drives some of the political fault lines in this country. There's a lot of people who live in predominantly white parts of the country who are fearful of this kind of change. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily racism. I think a lot of it is a lack of knowledge of people from different cultures. But they look around and they see the country that they grew up in changing and they don't like it. And Trump played into that. Now, how can somebody like Joe Biden come in and, alleviate some of those concerns and tensions? I know he'll try, I think Kamala Harris will try to. It's just a matter of, whether people want to engage each other as individuals and see past their differences and find common ground. I know there are a lot of Republicans who want to do that too. And the difference between, a Biden presidency and a Trump presidency is President Trump exacerbated those divisions. That was part of his strategy to win this election, and it failed. And we'll see whether Biden can overcome that in the next 4 years.
Indeed. Stay with me, Ray Locker. Also joining us from California is international affairs expert Stephen Golub. Hi, Stephen. Thanks for joining us. As per the latest coming in, Associated Press calling the election in favor of Joe Biden. He looks set to become the next president of the United States of America. I want to come to you first about what's in store, according to you, over the next few hours. Do we expect a smooth transition of power?
Good question. In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. I think the consensus around the country, even in many media outlets, among many Republicans, is yes, Joe Biden has won. Will Donald Trump readily concede? No. Based on his track record of never giving in on anything that might damage his ego, frankly, undercut his narcissism, he's unlikely to concede in the respectful way that both Republican and Democratic losing presidential candidates have in the past. He may very grudgingly go. He may even continue to try to put up a legal fight, even though the prospects for that are not very good. So it's looking more and more certain, yes, Biden will be the next president. He'll be sworn in on January 20th, but I don't know if it's going to be a smooth ride between now and then.
What's your assessment of the factors that seem to have worked in favor of Joe Biden? To what extent do you think Trump's COVID-19 questionable handling has helped Joe Biden achieve what he has now?
Boy, it's very, very possible that but for Trump's disastrous handling of COVID-19, which if you take into account a factor known as excess deaths, is over 300,000 dead in the U.S. now, and climbing. We could be 500,000 or approaching that by Inauguration Day, January 20th. If not for Trump's disastrous handling of COVID-19, we might be looking at Donald Trump having been reelected.
That's an interesting point that you make here. What makes you say that?
Because the economy in many ways was doing well, not in all ways. Some people were definitely suffering even before COVID-19. But the combination of the big economic downturn and the combination of hundreds of thousands of people dying on Trump's watch and his handling this incredibly poorly, discouraging and mocking people who wear face masks, for example, and all sorts of inadequate or incompetent actions that a president should have handled competently and responsibly, soured the general public on him. Soured enough people on him, to make the difference in what turned out to be a pretty tight race.
And questioning the validity of the voting process, asking for the vote counting to stop, declaring himself to be the winner as recently as just a couple of hours ago. What does that tell us about the incumbent leader who is now waiting to hand over the baton? Were you surprised at all in the manner in which Donald Trump reacted to the results coming in over the last few hours?
No, it's not. No, not at all. This is Donald Trump. I know it sounds like I'm being harsh here, but this is the man who's been president for the past 4 years. He is, by some counts, he's lied more than 20,000 times since becoming president. By some independent counts, his own niece wrote a book about, who's a psychologist, wrote a book partly about him, detailing the ways in which he's a very, very, pardon my frankness, sick personality. So for him to react in such a way that goes beyond immaturity to absolute selfishness, willing to undermine our institutions by telling blatant lies about supposed and completely unproven voter fraud. No, that's Donald Trump. That was to be expected. That was predicted by many folks even before he gave a disastrous statement on around election day, after election day.
All right, stay with me. Stephen Golub also getting in a reaction from Ray Locker. The point that we were discussing earlier, Ray, Kamala Harris set to become the first woman vice president, set to become the first Indian origin vice president. Your reaction to the challenges that lie ahead and how this is a historic development that brings with it a lot of hope for Americans who have voted for the Biden-Harris combination?
Well, you know, anytime you have somebody from previously marginalized communities taking an office that's very visible, has a lot of authority, it provides a great example for people of Indian and African American descent. They see that somebody who's part of their group can rise to the highest level of, you know, U.S. government, and it makes them, you know, feel encouraged about the process. You know, because for so long, people from different backgrounds have looked at, you know, people of prominence in government, politics, business, and seen only a sea of white faces. So that's very encouraging. As well as in relationship, you know, you can look at somebody and go, "He's one of our own." I think it strengthens the Indian American diaspora community here. You know, I think there will probably be some longer-term political advantages because of that, but it also presents some challenges. As we mentioned earlier, you know, people who are concerned about the increasing diversity of America will now see somebody from a group that they don't really like or understand, and it will exacerbate their feelings of, you know, insecurity, just as President Obama did. So, you know, this country is on a long arc toward changing, and her election is obviously part of that, but it has some possible pitfalls with it as well.
Ray Locker, if I can get you in on this aspect, your reaction to the expectations from the Biden-Harris combination and how this does mark a historic day for the United States of America, with Kamala Harris becoming the first woman vice president, the first Indian origin vice president.
You know, it's a huge deal. I mean, symbolically, Joe Biden's 77 years old. He'll be 78 when he's sworn in. You know, for anybody, that's pretty old, particularly in a job with so much stress involved in it. So she's going to play a greater role. I think they're optimistic about what they can do for the country, but bear in mind, you know, Democrats lost some seats in the House. They probably will not recapture to the Senate. We won't know until January. So legislatively, they have a lot of challenges. It's up to them, you know, to see how they can find common ground with Republicans, who in the previous two Democratic administrations have not been really willing to cooperate with Democratic presidents. We saw it with Bill Clinton. We saw it with Barack Obama. So they have a lot of work to do.